YouTube, Sketchy Reporter here. I just got back from seeing the movie The Hunger Games. The biggest movie that has really... It's broken so many records. It's like $9.7 million for a non-sequel film. That's unheard of. So it's doing incredibly well. So I figured after going to see the movie, I'd come in front of the camera and present to you my own thoughts on the film. I have to say, I did like it. I did. On the other hand, I'm gonna be that one sore stick in the mud who has a bad thing to say about this movie, and trust me, I have a lot of bad things to say about this movie. And this is coming from a guy who is not a big hardcore fan of the books. I read the first book middle school, and I haven't read it since. So this is basically coming from a review from a moviegoer only, not connected to the books really at all, but I know they made a lot of changes. And I understand that how, whenever you do a movie adaptation of a book, you gotta make a lot of changes. And I'm perfectly okay with that as long as it still makes sense and is flowing. I'll get into that in a second. But I made notes, actually. I took a notepad with me because I said I'd start doing that. First off, let me talk about the trailers that I saw. But, of course, the very first trailer was not really much of an upper because it was the next Twilight movie. And not only was it a teaser trailer, and a crappy one at that, but it was Bella doing some really bad monologue, and a deer walks out in front of her, and her eyes turn red. And that's about it. I don't know what else to say. The Avengers trailer came out. You've all seen the Avengers trailer and how epic it looks. I cannot wait for the Avengers. Dark Shadows, Tim Burton's new film. I've heard some bad thoughts toward it, but it's Tim Burton going back to his original roots of doing comedy. I'm all for it. And I think it looks pretty funny. The Huntsman, again, Bella. It's not Bella, it's the same girl doing Snow White. And I was actually kind of shocked to see that the actor that does Thor is in this movie too. That threw me off. And then, last but not least, they're doing G.I. Joe 2. And this movie is... Oh, it's gonna blow. It looks so bad. The CGI is so bad. The stunts are so bad. Oh, I'm gonna have to go see that movie because I have to know how bad it's gonna be. But trailers aside, going right into the Hunger Games. I kind of had a problem with this movie from the get-go, and now let me explain. It is... The first 15-20 minutes feels really fast and really claustrophobic. What I mean by that? It's like whenever you're doing a novelization, turning it into a movie. It's done. You have to break things down to make it, flow as a movie. But it's kind of like they're trying to get in everything they possibly can. Normally, I would respect that. But whenever you're trying to cram 5 chapters together in 5 minutes, it gets really mushy, really claustrophobic. Things are happening that you don't fully understand. It's really kind of hard for me to explain, but it's just, it feels really, really crowded. What else do I have? I made so many notes, actually. Okay. The biggest problem with this movie, by far, is the cinematography. Guys, if you're gonna do a movie, this kind of movie in particular, an action flick, and a really good action flick at that, but it doesn't mean anything to us if we can't see what's happening. You'll have these two people running at each other. The camera does this. And then, one of them's dead, and you have no idea how it happened. And this makes up probably a third of, like a 3/4 of the film is that kind of shaky cam. And it is so irritating. If you were to see this in the IMAX, I don't understand how you could do it. So the cinematography for this movie is a really bad note. And whenever this is a movie that is based around fighting, and the outcome of the fights really matters, we should be able to see what is happening to these characters, but we can't. Henceforth, we don't care. And that really, really bugs me. So the cinematography, I pray that they fix this in the next movie, because it is some of the it's worse than Cloverfield. And that is saying something. Cloverfield is like that constantly, and this movie feels like it's like that constantly. And Cloverfield, I'm gonna stand up for Cloverfield. It had a point to be like that, because someone was holding a camera and they were trying to film everything. This movie has no reason for doing this. There's not a guy holding a camera following these people around. They're using shaky cam just because they can use shaky cam, and it doesn't work. And you can make the argument that this is a kid's movie, kinda. The whole plot of the movie is it's kids killing kids for the victory country. And the problem with that is they're afraid to show kids killing kids. So they shake the camera around and then just stop the camera, showing one of them dead. And it just shouldn't work like that. I have so many more things to say, so I'll go back to that later, but and whenever the camera is still, the camera does have still moments, it really does, but whenever the camera is still, it is like this on a person. They'll be looking off at somebody, and it's that close the entire time. And again, if you were to see this on the IMAX, that'd be freaky! Someone's eye, like, 10 stories tall. It's... I really hope they fix that in the next movie. The editing feels really choppy during that too. The atmosphere in this movie, I was really worried about how they were going to do this kind of futuristic world. But actually the atmosphere, the scenery that they use, it's actually really, really good. I really like the atmosphere and the scenery, and the special effects were even actually really, really good. Talk about some things I actually did enjoy about the movie for a second. The acting from everybody is pretty spot on. All the acting is actually really well done. Woody Harrelson's in this movie. I did not know that, and every time he was on the screen, it was epic. Woody Harrelson is one of the actors that it doesn't matter what movie he's doing, he is fully in his character, and he's loving every minute of it. So Woody Harrelson, props to that guy. There was a plot point where our two main characters have flashbacks. This is not something I like, this is actually something that irritated me a lot. They had a flashback to when they first met. You know what, that's all fine, that's all dandy. But whenever you see the exact same flashback 3 times in a span of 20 minutes, that is bad storytelling. Yes, it's important. Yes, it's been labeled as something important. You can show that in one flashback. We don't have to see it multiple times. So again, from a storytelling standpoint, this fails miserably again. And I'm not saying that I could do better. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying I've seen better, and I know Hollywood can do better. And I expect better from a group like this. I really do. I wrote in here, Woody Harrelson remains awesome. The fashion in this movie, I remember reading the book in middle school and thinking it was kind of like medieval meets sci-fi, a weird mixture of that kind of blend, but the movie takes it a different route completely. They have everybody, except for the stars, this really bright, like, tie-dyed hair, like reds, and bright red, bright oranges, bright purples and greens. But like big wigs. And I'm not really sure why. I guess they wanted something kind of bright and vibrant to make the things happening in the Hunger Games look darker. I guess it just kind of felt out of place and kind of clownish, actually. The side characters in this movie. Alright. I got a lot to say about the characters in this movie. The Hunger Games takes place with 24 kids, all fighting to the death and with only one survivor. Great scenario. Problem is, 2 of 24 characters has any plot. Everybody else, including the main villain, the main team that is like the main enemy team, the main villain, all completely uninteresting. They are not. No character except for the main 2 have a story arc. None of them do. Not one character, whenever they died, did I care. It's just, bam, they're dead. Oh, sucks to be them. I don't care. Like, even, spoiler alert, I mean, I'm spoiling some things already, but spoiler alert, there's a little girl named Rue, who, so many people were like, oh, I cried so hard whenever Rue died. I just felt so sorry for her. And I might sound like a jerk saying this, but why? Why do you feel bad about this little girl dying whenever she's on screen for no more than 2 minutes? She does something nice for the main character, sure, but that's not enough to get upset about. I mean, yeah, it's sad whenever characters die on screen, but they have to mean something. Take the Lion King, for example. Whenever Mufasa dies, it means something because he did something very, very important right beforehand. He's been built up as a really strong character, and so we actually feel sympathy for him when he dies. This little girl, Rue, she does one thing to help kill his character off screen. She dies, and we don't feel a single thing for her. At least I didn't. Apparently other people did. And I don't understand why this is such a tragedy. It's not. Maybe I'm just a bad person. They have this big intercom, they just say, we are changing the rules because 2 of our members have fallen in love, and we are going to allow both of them to win together. Okay, fine. I'm amazed after over 75 years of playing this game, this is the first time this has ever happened, and this is the first time that they're ever changing the rules. Okay. And then at the end of close to the end of the movie, the intercom comes on again. Once these 2 people have finally finished the games, we are withdrawing our last rule. You guys have to kill each other now to see who is going to be the #1 victor. So why have the first plot at all? It just makes... It's a way to tack on an extra 20 minutes onto your movie. The whole set of rules didn't make any sense. It really just felt like it was in there to tack on an extra 20 minutes. And if that happens in the book, I'm sure it does. Just make it matter. That's all I'm asking. Just make things like that matter. Because they don't. They don't matter at all. People die. People live, people die. Literally they die off screen. They die on screen, but it happens like, I'm dead. You never see it. You never see any weapon actually contact someone's body. You just they throw an axe, it hits them in the head, the camera cuts to something else really quick, and then they're on the ground dead. Oh, the camera's shaking. If I saw this in IMAX, I'd be so sick. But yeah, the movie ends on a cliffhanger, allowing for the sequel next year, which I'll go see, mainly because I want to see if they're gonna fix the shaky cam. I'm sorry I keep harping on that, but that is just not how you do an action scene at all. But I digress. Go on. Send your hate mail. I'm gonna get a lot of it, but I guess you guys are looking for my number scale. I gotta give it a 4 or 5. It told a good story. I'm not denying that. It told it completely wrong. I love the story of the Hunger Games. I love the scenario, and I love the world it's created. I really do. I loved all the actors. I love the cast. I love the effects. I love the setting. Just the cinematography ruined it for me completely. If you're a casual moviegoer, I honestly don't think you're going to have a good time. If you're a fan of the book, you probably will. So that's all I got. So that's the Sketchy Reporter signing off.